Hi guys, Serena Smith here, and the William Allen White book that I chose is The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary, illustrated by Jacqueline Rogers, published by HarperCollins, copyright date of 1965. The genre is children's fiction. There are 184 pages, and this book is good for children 8 through 12, ages 8 through 12. This book is about a young mouse named Ralph who lives a colony of mice that live in the Mountain View Hotel there in California. And Ralph lives in a hole in the wall in room 215 on the second floor. And then the colony of mice survive from the droppings that people leave, the food droppings that people leave in the all over the floor. That's their food source. And then one day, a young boy named Keith Gridley, who's on vacation with his parents from Ohio, happened to stay in his room, 215. Well, Keith stays in that room, and his parents stay in the room next door. And then one night, Keith is playing with his toy cars on the floor, and Ralph is watching through a hole in the wall, and he's just mesmerized by this red motorcycle. And then the next day, Keith goes with his parents to their outing for the day, and Ralph comes out and he plays with the motorcycle. He can't figure out how to get it started though, and then the phone rings and it scares him, and he falls into the wastebasket and he can't get out, and he's stuck under an apple with the motorcycle there. And then Keith comes home back to the hotel room later that evening and sees Ralph, finds Ralph and the motorcycle in the trash can, and then they start talking and become friends. And Keith shows Ralph how to start the motorcycle by using sounds with your mouth, and tells Ralph that he can ride the motorcycle as long as he's very careful and doesn't get caught and takes care of the motorcycle. So they agree to that. And then one day, when Keith is gone, Ralph gets on the motorcycle and he's riding it around the room, and the maid happens to come in and she starts cleaning the room, and so Ralph is hiding under the bed. And she happens to let go of the vacuum, and it starts to suck up Ralph and the bike. And so the bike gets lost, and Ralph barely makes it out of the sheets by chewing a hole through them. So later on that day, when Keith comes home, he has a present for Ralph, and it's a motorcycle helmet made out of a ping pong ball and a rubber band. And Ralph has to explain to Keith that he lost the motorcycle, and it upsets Keith, and he gets mad at Ralph and tells him that he knew he couldn't trust him. Long story short, they find the motorcycle, and one afternoon, Keith gets really sick, and he needs some aspirin, and his parents can't get to any until the following morning, so Ralph takes it upon himself to go out and find some aspirin for Keith to make him feel better. And putting an aspirin in the mouth is actually how Ralph's dad died, so he knew that it was dangerous for him to go out there and try to find that. He ends up finding some, and he has lots of bad things happen along the way, but he pushes through them and ends up using the toy ambulance that Keith has brought to deliver the aspirin to him. And so Keith gets the medicine that he needs, and Ralph is a hero because of it, and they become friends again. And then before Ralph leaves, he ends up giving the motorcycle, before Keith leaves, he ends up giving the motorcycle to Ralph. And so Ralph ends up getting to keep it. And the illustrations in the book are actually done by pencil. Let me see if I can find some. There's not very many either. Here's one of them. And there's one of Ralph and the Motorcycle. The theme would be to keep cautious of unexpected dangers, and also if you borrow something from somebody, make sure you keep it in good hands so that way you can return it back to them the same way that you got it. The activity that I chose for this book would be a cause and effect graphic organizer to fill it out throughout the book, and then have children compare their answers and see if they got similar compare and contrasts on that. Thanks.